What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and this one will break down what's going on with Tesla stock and what you should be watching for moving forward. I'm also going to talk about what's happening to SPY and the QQQ and what the data is suggesting so far for the economy. But before breaking things down about all this information, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And don't forget about the Webull link. The offer ends very soon. If you deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. Anyways, now let's talk about Tesla in the market, what's going on with everything. Tesla's up about 0.87%, now about 0.9% overall. In the pre-market, holding up quite decently as we have some quite good news that came out. But looking at the market, there is something that's very, very important to look at when it comes to how it's likely going to move. And that is going to be these numbers that just came out. The PPI report was quite positive at 0.1% month over month, which is as expected. The core PPI month over month was 0.1% as expected as well. Year over year PPI was 0.1%, which was lower than expected because the expectation was 0.4%. And core PPI year over year was only 2.4%, lower than the expectation of 2.6%. Once again, we got as expected or lower than expected inflationary numbers from the PPI end of it. That's once again a good sign for CPI moving forward, as this tends to be an early indicator of what's going to happen for it as well. It tends to be a leading indicator. But to add on to this, we have initial jobless claims, which was not as great because it came out at 237,000, which is a little bit lower than the forecast. So that's not the best of signs, but besides that, everything else was quite decent. Jobless claims dipped to about 237,000, so the US labor market has remained resilient. So far, it's a good sign, and so far it looks like the market is not really, too concerned about this just yet, because the inflationary numbers are still trumping this, and the market is still looking very excited and very, very optimistic. Now, to add on to this, there is news that came out about how Pepsi has raised its outlook, once again showing some more and more positive guidance and good expectations. And the same thing could be said about Delta, as it sets the tone with more and more improved guidance for the full year earnings. Once again, looking quite nice. Now, for Tesla, there's some news that came out that Tesla's to launch a Cybertruck-inspired electric quad bike for kids in China. This is what it's going to look like. Looks pretty interesting. There was also news about Cathie Wood continuing to unload Tesla stock with the latest $5.7 million sale. That is nothing, guys. Don't worry too much about this. The media is trying to make a big deal out of this. That is just nothing. It's only $5 million. And she's only doing this for many other reasons like repositioning and other factors like that. Nothing too major, nothing too significant. There's also some bullish talk that came out as Tesla's in talks with India to set up a factory with up to 500,000 annual capacity. That is once again very, very bullish news if this does end up being reported and announced and confirmed. We're still waiting for that, as still we're looking at India and many negotiations and stuff like that. But Elon Musk is also talking about how India could be used as a very good export base, as it plans to ship cars to countries in the Indo-Pacific region. That's once again some great news, and I can't wait for what holds up with this. If this is announced, a 500,000 EV Gigafactory is just super bullish for Tesla. If this is officially confirmed, this is once again very optimistic, so we might see Tesla pop off this. Now, what am I seeing for Tesla? Going into the morning, there's a good chance Tesla's going to do what it typically does. That is pop before it slows down a little bit. So I'm going to be watching for Tesla to pop to around like 277 or so. Could go a little bit higher, maybe 278, as the news has been quite positive. But I'm going to be watching, can Tesla get that initial pop? We're currently at 274. I'm going to be watching to see if it pops. Then it may slow down as the day goes on, remain kind of sideways for today. And I think that the problem with Tesla is it lacks volume. There's a lot of manipulation that's going on. We're starting to see more shorts and etc. still piling in. So it may not be that strong this week. It might pop and drop and still remain a little bit sideways and consolidate. But I believe, however, we're going to see a very nice pump for Tesla going into next week. I think it tends to run very nicely approaching earnings. The expectations tend to be very good. There's a good chance Tesla's going to give us something better for next week once the volume and buying pressure reemerge. So I'm going to be watching for a pop in the morning as the market opens in just a couple of minutes. 277 to 278 is very possible, maybe a slowdown as time goes on. And once again, we could just see some more like sideways price action, kind of like what we saw yesterday. And it may remain kind of slow for the remainder of the week, but we're going to likely get a very nice pop very, very soon, especially going into next week for Tesla. I think volume is going to return. For SPY, we're going to be watching, could this thing break above 448? If it manages to do so, we're going to be watching 450 on SPY. I think it has the potential to get all the way up to 450. If we get another pop, 450 is going to be my target. If we do reach it, I don't expect it to break very hard above it. It's going to likely slow down afterwards, kind of similar to what we saw yesterday. Nice pop, then a drop afterwards. We're getting very close to 450. That looks like a pretty good target if we break above 448. For support, watch 445. 446 is also another one. Then 443 below that. In my opinion, I think it's going to pop and then slow down as time goes on. But watch 450 if 448 breaks. Last but not least, for the triple Q, we're going to be watching, could it break above 376? If it breaks this, you're going to be watching 378 and potentially 380. It may test those levels, then slow down as time goes on. But overall, it's looking quite nice and more bullish than bearish. All right, guys. So looking at all this data, the market is still holding up quite nicely. We also have a bullish structure on the triple Q. SPY has a bullish structure, and so does Tesla. Things are looking quite nice. Nvidia is looking pretty decent so far, trying to hold up. It didn't really get the bearish case. It's still at 444. If it continues to break out, watch 447 as resistance. If it breaks down, watch 450. If it breaks down, watch it retest 440 and 436. I think so far it's looking quite nice. So it's going to try to hold around these levels. Maybe try to pop very close to 447 to 450 before it slows down a little bit. After that, I'm also going to be watching some other like big tickers out there. Like Meta is going to be an important one as well. The thing about Meta is it's looking a little bit weak in the pre-market. We have this gap down below. Maybe it pops a little bit, retests like 315, but then it slows down to get back to like 309 or so. We do have this unfilled gap down here just trying to fill it, so be very careful with Meta. If it breaks below 312, we're going to likely start filling this gap to 309. Just wanted to inform you guys about that. Please be very, very cautious with it. And besides that, the market is still quite optimistic and quite resilient. Now, to add on to Tesla, I want to remind you that the volume has been slow on Tesla. We're not getting as many aggressive buyers. But as we approach earnings, things could change big time as Tesla tends to be the center of attention. I think Tesla's going to start popping. I think by Monday of next week, when Monday comes, that's when Tesla's going to start running. We're going to see this thing reach the 280s again, in my opinion, as long as we hold around these levels going into the end of this week. All right. And don't forget, there are going to be some bank earnings going into tomorrow, some big ones. So it's going to be very important before the market opens, and that's going to dictate the pace of the markets. All right. So be well aware of everything that's coming out. Do what you have to do, and I'll most definitely see you guys in the next one. Just to the moon, as the long term is still incredibly bright. And please remember some wise words, okay? Before I end the video, one last thing. Remember to hunt, do not chase. Hunt for opportunities. Be very patient in a market like this. It's a very volatile market, and sometimes unexpected things can happen. Okay? So hunt, do not chase, be as patient as possible, and don't forget to secure profits at the right time. Do not be too greedy in a market like this. The market could eat away your profits quickly. Secure profits quickly. Do whatever you have to do. Keep yourself mentally fit, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you. Market to the moon, and peace out.